They say a man's prejudice dies hard. But what happens when it collides with obsession? When hate transforms into hunger? When the woman you swore you'd never want becomes the only one you can't live without? This is the story of Maverick Knight, a billionaire who built empires on control, crushed rivals without mercy, and lived by one unspoken rule: never let a black woman into his world. Not as a friend. Not as a lover. Not as anything. Until Fobi Bernard walked into his life like a storm wrapped in silk. And everything he thought he knew shattered. Welcome to a world of power, betrayal, obsession, and redemption. A world where love doesn't knock politely, it kicks down the door and leaves you bleeding. Before we begin, welcome to the Korean Dawn. If you love dark, addictive romance stories that'll keep you up all night, hit that subscribe button right now. And Happy New Year to all of you beautiful people. Let's start this year with a story that'll make your heart race and your mind spin. Now, let's dive in. Maverick Knight was a man who thrived on control. At 39, he'd built an empire that spanned 3 continents, left rivals bleeding in boardrooms, and collected enemies like other men collected watches. His name carried weight in every city he entered. Whispers followed him. Fear, respect, desire, they all blurred together in his wake. Women wanted him. Men feared him. But one thing Maverick never entertained was vulnerability. Especially not with black women. It wasn't hate. Hate required emotion, and Maverick didn't waste emotion on things that didn't matter. It was indifference, cold, inherited, and buried so deep he barely remembered where it came from. Maybe it was his father's voice, sharp and dismissive at the country club. Maybe it was the silence of the world he'd grown up in, where people like them simply didn't exist in his circles. Or maybe it was easier to dismiss than to question. Whatever the reason, Maverick had never looked twice. Until tonight. The rooftop of the Avalon Grand Hotel glittered like a jewel box under the Monaco sky. Thousands of fairy lights draped across iron trellises, crystal chandeliers hung suspended over velvet lounges, and a jazz quartet filled the air with smooth, dangerous melodies. The city skyline stretched beyond the balcony, sharp skyscrapers piercing the dusk, the river below shimmering like molten gold. It was Arthur Langston's 50th birthday, and Maverick had come out of courtesy more than pleasure. Arthur was an old friend from Harvard, a fellow billionaire who threw parties that were less about celebration and more about reminding everyone who held the power. Guests mingled in tailored tuxedos and sequin gowns, laughter ringing out as champagne glasses clinked. Senators, CEOs, models, and Mafia dons blended seamlessly into the glittering chaos. Maverick stood near the balcony, a glass of scotch in hand, his piercing blue eyes scanning the crowd with practiced detachment. He'd already exchanged pleasantries with a senator, turned down 2 offers from investment bankers, and endured a conversation with a model who only seemed interested in his yacht. It was all routine. Predictable. Boring. And then he saw her. She entered like fire contained in a flawless frame. The first thing Maverick noticed was the gown, deep purple satin that clung to her curves like water, shimmering under the chandelier light. Then came her poise, regal, confident, every step deliberate, as though she owned the ground beneath her feet. And finally, her face. Dark skin that glowed like burnished bronze. High cheekbones. Full lips curved in a faint, knowing smile. And eyes as God, those eyes, that carried both warmth and a challenge that made something in Maverick's chest tighten. He froze. For the first time in decades, his armor cracked. His heartbeat betrayed him, pounding harder with each second she moved deeper into the room. He told himself to look away. Old habits whispered in his ear, not her. Not your kind, . But his eyes refused. They clung to her like iron to a magnet. Who is she? Maverick muttered under his breath. No one around him seemed to notice her the way he did. Conversations continued. Glasses clinked. The music swelled. Yet for Maverick, the entire party had blurred into silence, leaving only her. She made her way to the bar, ordered something with a smile that made the bartender stammer, and leaned against the counter, alone. Maverick downed the rest of his scotch, straightened his tuxedo jacket, and forced his feet forward. For the first time in years, he felt nervous. "Good evening," he said when he finally reached her. His voice, usually deep and commanding, came out just a shade uncertain. She turned to him, eyes flicking over his face with a slow, deliberate appraisal. Her lips curved into a polite but measured smile. "Good evening." Up close, she was devastating. Her hair was swept into an elegant bun, diamond earrings catching the light with each tilt of her head. There was no trace of intimidation in her gaze. If anything, she looked like she was weighing him, deciding whether he was worth her time. "I don't think we've met," Maverick said, extending his hand. "Maverick Knight." Her brow arched slightly, recognizing the name. But she didn't gush or feign excitement the way most people did. Instead, she took his hand with calm confidence. "Fobi Bernard." Fobi, the name rolled through him like velvet. "Pleasure to meet you, Fobi," Maverick said, releasing her hand reluctantly. "Arthur certainly knows how to throw a party." "He does," she agreed, glancing around the rooftop. "Though I've never been one for all this glitter. Too much sparkle makes it hard to see what's real." Maverick blinked. No one ever said things like that at these gatherings. Most people were too busy pretending to belong. Her words were refreshing. Grounded. He found himself smiling, genuinely smiling. "I couldn't agree more. These events are performances." Her lips twitched upward. "And what role are you playing tonight, Mr. Knight?" For a second, Maverick was caught off guard. No one spoke to him like that, teasing, almost challenging. Women usually bent themselves to fit his ego. But not her. "I suppose I'm playing the bored billionaire," he said dryly. "And you?" The observer, Fobi, replied smoothly, sipping her drink. "I like watching people pretend. It tells you more about them than their words ever could." He chuckled, his interest deepening. "You're not like most people here. And you're not as charming as you think you are," she shot back lightly. Maverick laughed. Actually laughed, a sound that startled even him. What began as a hesitant introduction blossomed into a conversation that carried them through the evening. They spoke about travel, books, architecture. She told him about her love for cities, the way they were shaped not just by buildings, but by the dreams of the people inside them. He found himself listening. Truly listening, not simply waiting for his turn to speak. And he surprised himself too, sharing small pieces of his life that he rarely gave away. The pressure of his empire. The loneliness of success. The walls he had built so high even he sometimes couldn't climb them. With anyone else, he would have guarded those truths like secrets. With her, the words flowed. As the night waned and guests began to leave, Maverick realized something alarming. He didn't want the conversation to end. "I enjoyed talking to you, Fobi," he said softly, reluctant to break the moment. She smiled, her eyes warm but unreadable. "I enjoyed it too." He hesitated, then reached for his phone. "Would you mind if I had your number? Perhaps we could continue this conversation another time, away from all the sparkle." There was a beat of silence as she studied him. Maverick felt a strange tension in his chest, as though waiting for a verdict. Finally, she nodded and recited her number. When he saved it, something inside him clicked. A door opening. Later, as Maverick sat in the back of his black Rolls-Royce, the city lights flickering past the tinted windows, he stared at her name glowing on his phone screen. Fobi Bernard. He should have been annoyed with himself. This wasn't him. He didn't chase women. Didn't get distracted. Didn't let his guard down. Especially not for someone who represented everything he once dismissed. And yet. He leaned back against the leather seat, loosening his tie, a faint smile playing on his lips. For the first time in years, the world felt unpredictable. And strangely, he liked it. But as the car turned the corner, Maverick's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number ***. Asterisk stay away from Fobi Bernard. Or you'll regret it. Asterisk. His blood ran cold. Maverick stared at the text message, his jaw tightening. The words glowed on the screen like a threat carved in stone. Asterisk stay away from Fobi Bernard. Or you'll regret it, asterisk. He didn't scare easily. Threats were part of his world, business rivals, jealous competitors, men who wanted what he had. But this was different. This was personal. And it involved her. Who the hell are you? He muttered, his thumb hovering over the message. He considered calling her. Warning her. But what would he say? Hey, I just met you, and someone's already threatening me about you. That wouldn't exactly inspire confidence. Instead, Maverick did what he did best. He made a call. Peter, he said when his assistant answered. I need a full background check on someone. Fobi Bernard. Everything. Family, business, associates, enemies. I want it on my desk by morning. There was a pause. Is everything all right, sir? Just do it. Maverick hung up and leaned back, his mind racing. Something about tonight didn't add up. Fobi had been poised, confident, intelligent, but there was something else beneath the surface. Something she hadn't told him. And now someone wanted him to stay away from her. Which only made him want to get closer. The next morning, Peter arrived at Maverick's penthouse with a thick folder. His expression was uneasy. You're not going to like this, sir. Maverick took the folder, flipping it open. His eyes scanned the pages, birth records, education, business ventures. And then he saw it. Asterisk Richard Bernard. CEO of Bernard Global. Former ties to the Devereaux Syndicate, asterisk. Maverick's blood froze. The Devereaux Syndicate. One of the most dangerous crime families in the world. Guns, drugs, money laundering, they had their fingers in everything. And Richard Bernard, Fobi's father, had been connected to them before going legitimate. Does she know? Maverick asked, his voice low. Peter hesitated. It's unclear. But there's more. Fobi Bernard is currently the managing director of Bernard Global. She's been cleaning up her father's past dealings. Cutting ties with the old world. But, someone doesn't want her to succeed. There have been threats. Attempts on her life. She's been under protection for the past 6 months. Maverick's fists clenched. That's why someone had texted him. They didn't want him involved. Didn't want him getting close to her. But it was too late for that. He grabbed his phone and dialed her number. It rang once. Twice. Then her voice, smooth and cautious, answered. Mr. Knight. I wasn't expecting to hear from you so soon. We need to talk, Maverick said. Now. There was a pause. Then, where? My place. I'll send a car. No, she said firmly. Somewhere public. The Riverside Cafe. 1 hour. She hung up before he could argue. Maverick arrived early, scanning the cafe with sharp eyes. It was small, tucked between boutiques, with glass windows overlooking the river. A few patrons sat scattered around, sipping coffee, oblivious to the tension coiling in the air. When Fobi arrived, she looked different. Gone was the glamorous gown. She wore dark jeans, a leather jacket, and sunglasses that hid her eyes. She slid into the booth across from him, her movements careful, controlled. You know, Maverick said without preamble. She tilted her head. Know what? Don't play games with me, Fobi. Someone threatened me last night. Told me to stay away from you. And this morning I find out your father was connected to the Devereaux Syndicate. Her jaw tightened. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she removed her sunglasses, and her eyes, those beautiful, dangerous eyes, locked onto his. You did your homework, she said quietly. Good. That means you're smart enough to walk away. I don't walk away. You should. Why? She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. Because my father's past is catching up to him. And I'm the one cleaning up the mess. People want me dead, Maverick. People who don't care about collateral damage. If you're near me, you're a target. Then let me help you. She laughed bitterly. Help me? You're a businessman. I'm dealing with killers. I'm not just a businessman, Maverick said, his voice like steel. You think I built my empire by playing nice? I've crushed men who threatened me. I've made people disappear. If someone's after you, they'll have to go through me first. Fobi stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she leaned back. You don't know what you're getting into. Then tell me. She hesitated. Then, finally, she spoke. My father used to launder money for the Devereaux family. Millions. When he decided to go legitimate, he took something from them. Evidence. Insurance. He thought it would keep us safe. But it didn't. Now they want it back. And they want me dead as a message. Maverick's mind raced. Where's the evidence? Hidden. Even I don't know where. My father won't tell me. He thinks it's safer that way. Then we need to find it before they do. We? She shook her head. There is no we, Maverick. You need to forget you ever met me. She stood to leave, but Maverick caught her wrist. I'm not forgetting you, Fobi. And I'm not walking away. For a moment, their eyes locked. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. What is it? Maverick asked. She showed him the screen. A photo. Her apartment. The door kicked open. Furniture overturned. And scrawled on the wall in red paint. You're next. Maverick's grip tightened on her wrist. You're coming with me. Now. And as they ran from the cafe, neither of them saw the man in the shadows watching them leave. A man with a scar across his face and a phone pressed to his ear, whispering ***. They're together. Just like we planned. Maverick drove like a man possessed. His black Aston Martin tore through the city streets, weaving between cars, the engine roaring like a caged beast. Fobi sat beside him, silent, her hands clenched in her lap. Where are we going? She finally asked. Somewhere they won't find you. There is nowhere they won't find me, Maverick. These people have eyes everywhere. Then we go somewhere they won't think to look. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a nondescript building on the outskirts of the city. It looked abandoned, cracked windows, rusted fire escapes, graffiti covering the walls. But Maverick knew better. He led her inside, through a maze of hallways, until they reached a reinforced steel door. He punched in a code, and it slid open with a hiss. Inside was a safe house. Clean, modern, stocked with everything they'd need. Security monitors lined one wall, showing feeds from cameras hidden around the perimeter. You own this? Fobi asked, her eyes scanning the space. I own several. Places I can disappear if things go south. Things like this? Things like this. She turned to him, her expression hard. You can't protect me forever, Maverick. Eventually, they'll find us. Then we don't wait for them to find us. We go on the offensive. And how do you suggest we do that? Maverick crossed to the monitors, pulling up files on his laptop. We find the evidence your father hid. We use it as leverage. Force them to back off. Fobi shook her head. My father won't tell me where it is. I've tried. Then we make him talk. You don't know my father. He's stubborn. Once he decides something, there's no changing his mind. Maverick turned to her, his gaze intense. Then we find another way. We dig into the Devereaux syndicate. Find their weaknesses. Hit them where it hurts. Fobi stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, a smile tugged at her lips. You really are insane, aren't you? Probably. She laughed, a real, genuine laugh that softened her features. And for a moment, the danger faded, leaving just the two of them in the quiet of the safe house. But the moment didn't last. The monitors flickered. One of the camera feeds went black. Then another. Maverick's blood ran cold. They're here. Fobi's smile vanished. How? We just got here. Someone tipped them off. Maverick grabbed a gun from a hidden drawer, checking the clip. Stay behind me. I don't need you to protect me, Fobi said, pulling her own gun from her jacket. Maverick blinked. You carry? I told you. I'm not some damsel in distress. He smirked. Good. Because we're about to need all the firepower we can get. The door exploded inward. Men in black tactical gear poured into the safe house, weapons raised. Maverick fired first, dropping one, then two. Fobi moved like a shadow, her shots precise, deadly. But there were too many. Maverick grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the back exit. Bullets tore through the walls around them. They burst into the alley, the night air cold against their skin. A black SUV screeched to a halt in front of them, blocking their path. The door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall. Scarred. Familiar. Maverick's blood froze. Dante Devereaux, Fobi whispered, her voice trembling. The man smiled, a cold, cruel smile. Hello, Fobi. It's been a long time. Run. Maverick shouted, firing at Dante, ***. But Dante didn't flinch. He simply raised his hand, and his men surrounded them, ***. You can't run from me, Fobi, Dante said softly. You never could. And as Maverick looked into Fobi's eyes, he saw something he'd never seen before. Fear. Dante Devereaux was a man carved from nightmares. At 42, he had taken over the Devereaux syndicate after his father's brutal assassination, and within 5 years, he doubled its reach. His methods were legendary, swift, merciless, and deeply personal. Cross him once, and he'd destroy your business. Cross him twice, and he'd destroy your family. And Fobi had crossed him. You look well, Dante said, his voice smooth as silk, his eyes cold as winter. Considering you've been running from me for 6 months. Fobi's grip on her gun tightened, but she didn't raise it. She knew better. Dante's men had them surrounded, 12 armed soldiers, rifles trained on them from every angle. Maverick, however, didn't lower his weapon. Who the hell are you? Dante's smile widened. Ah, the infamous Maverick Knight. The billionaire who thinks money makes him untouchable. He took a step closer, hands in his pockets, casual, confident. Let me introduce myself. Dante Devereaux. And you, Mr. Knight, have made a grave mistake by involving yourself in my business. She's not your business, Maverick growled. Oh, but she is. Dante's eyes flicked to Fobi. Isn't that right, darling? Fobi flinched at the word, and Maverick saw it, the crack in her armor. There was history here. Dark, twisted history. What do you want, Dante? Fobi asked, her voice steady despite the fear flickering in her eyes. What I've always wanted. What your father stole from me. Dante circled them slowly, like a predator stalking wounded prey. The evidence. The files. The recordings. Everything he took when he decided to betray me. I don't have it, Fobi said. But you know where it is. I don't. Dante stopped in front of her, his face inches from hers. Liar. Before Maverick could react, Dante's hand shot out, grabbing Fobi by the throat. She gasped, clawing at his wrist, but he didn't let go. Let her go. Maverick roared, raising his gun. Dante's men shifted, rifles clicking. One move, and Maverick would be dead. But Maverick didn't care. He stepped forward, his gun pressed against Dante's temple. I said, let her go. For a moment, the alley was silent. The only sound was Fobi's labored breathing and the distant hum of the city. Then Dante laughed, a low, chilling sound. He released Fobi, and she stumbled back, gasping for air. You've got fire, Knight. I'll give you that. Dante turned to him, unbothered by the gun against his head. But fire gets people killed. Try me. Dante's smile faded. His eyes darkened. You have 48 hours. Find the evidence, or I'll kill everyone you've ever cared about. Starting with her. He nodded to his men, and they lowered their weapons. Dante stepped back, adjusting his suit jacket like nothing had happened. Oh, and Maverick? Dante called over his shoulder as he walked toward his SUV. Don't think you can run. I own this city. Every street. Every building. Every shadow. You're already mine. The SUV roared to life and disappeared into the night. Maverick lowered his gun, his chest heaving. He turned to Fobi, who was still clutching her throat, tears streaming down her face. Are you okay? He asked, his voice softer now. She nodded, but she wasn't okay. He could see it in the way her hands trembled, the way her breath hitched. Without thinking, Maverick pulled her into his arms. She resisted at first, her body stiff, defensive. But then she collapsed against him, her fingers gripping his shirt like a lifeline. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I should never have let you get involved. Too late for that, Maverick said, his voice firm. We're in this together now. She pulled back, looking up at him with red-rimmed eyes. You don't understand. Dante doesn't make empty threats. If we don't give him what he wants, he'll kill us both. Then we give him what he wants. I told you. I don't know where the evidence is. Then we find your father. And we make him tell us. Fobi hesitated, then nodded. He's in hiding. Somewhere even I don't know. But I have a way to reach him. Then let's go. 2 hours later, they were in Maverick's private jet, flying toward an undisclosed location. Fobi sat across from him, staring out the window, her mind 1,000 miles away. Tell me about him, Maverick said finally. She looked at him, confused. Who? Dante. You two have history. Fobi's jaw tightened. She looked away. It's not something I like to talk about. We're past the point of secrets, Fobi. If I'm going to help you, I need to know what I'm dealing with. She was silent for a long moment. Then, finally, she spoke. Dante and I were engaged. Maverick's blood ran cold. It was years ago, she continued, her voice hollow. I was young. Stupid. I thought I could change him. Thought love could save him. She laughed bitterly. I was wrong. Dante doesn't love. He owns. And when my father betrayed him, Dante blamed me. Said I was part of the plan. That I used him. Did you? She met his eyes, and there was fire there. No. I loved him once. But the man I loved doesn't exist anymore. Maybe he never did. Maverick leaned forward, his voice low. He's not going to stop, is he? No. Not until he gets what he wants. Or until one of us is dead. Then we make sure it's him. Fobi stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she smiled. You really are insane. You've said that before. It's still true. Despite everything, Maverick found himself smiling back. But as the jet soared through the night sky, neither of them noticed the tracker hidden beneath Fobi's jacket, pulsing, transmitting their location to Dante's men. And in a darkened room miles away, Dante Devereaux watched the blinking on his screen and whispered asterisk. Run all you want, Fobi. I'll always find you. The jet landed on a private airstrip in the mountains of Colorado. Snow blanketed the ground, the air sharp and cold. Fobi led Maverick to a black SUV waiting on the tarmac, and they drove in silence, winding through narrow roads until they reached a cabin hidden deep in the woods. It looked abandoned. But Maverick knew better. Fobi knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. A code. The door opened a crack, and a man's voice, gruff and suspicious, barked, "Who sent you?" "The girl who's cleaning up your mess," Fobi replied. The door swung open. Richard Bernard was not what Maverick expected. He'd imagined a hardened criminal, scarred and brutal. Instead, he saw a man in his 60s, gray-haired, wearing a flannel shirt and jeans. He looked like a retired teacher, not a former money launderer for the most dangerous crime family in the world. But his eyes told a different story. Sharp. Calculating. Haunted. "Fobi," Richard said, pulling her into a hug. "You shouldn't have come." "I didn't have a choice." Richard's eyes flicked to Maverick. "And who's this?" "Maverick Knight. He's helping me." Richard's expression darkened. "You brought a stranger here?" "He's not a stranger. He saved my life." "And put a target on his back," Richard shot back. He turned to Maverick, his voice cold. "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into, boy." "I'm beginning to understand," Maverick replied evenly. "Which is why we need the evidence. Dante gave us 48 hours. Richard's face went pale. "Dante found you?" "He's been tracking me for months," Fobi said. "It was only a matter of time." Richard cursed under his breath, pacing the cabin. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. I told you to stay hidden. To let me handle this." "Handle it how, Dad? By hiding forever? By letting Dante control our lives? Better that than dead." "We're already dead if we don't fight back," Fobi said firmly. "So tell me, where is the evidence?" Richard stopped pacing. He looked at his daughter, then at Maverick, weighing his options. Finally, he sighed. "It's in Monaco. In a safe deposit box under a false name." Maverick's mind raced. "Monaco? That's Dante's territory." "Exactly," Richard said. "I hid it in the one place he'd never think to look. Right under his nose." "How do we get to it?" Fobi asked. "You don't." "I do. It's under my name. My fingerprint. My retinal scan. No one else can access it." "Then you're coming with us," Maverick said. "No." Richard shook his head. "If I set foot in Monaco, Dante's men will kill me on sight. Then we'll protect you." "You can't protect me from him, boy." "No one can." "I can," Maverick said, his voice like steel. "I didn't build my empire by running from fights. And I'm not about to start now." Richard stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. "All right. But if this goes south, it's on you. Hey, if you're loving this story so far, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. I need you in the Korean Dawn family. And drop a comment below telling me what you think of Maverick and Fobi. Are they going to survive Dante? Or is this love story doomed from the start? Let me know. Now, back to the story, ***. Monaco glittered like a predator in waiting. The city's beauty was deceptive, polished yachts, marble streets, designer boutiques. But beneath the surface, darkness pulsed. This was Dante's kingdom. Every casino, every club, every shadow belonged to him. Maverick, Fobi, and Richard arrived under the cover of night. They stayed at a small hotel on the outskirts, far from the tourist crowds. The plan was simple: get to the bank, retrieve the evidence, and disappear before Dante's men realized they were there. But simple plans rarely survived contact with reality. The next morning, they approached the Banque Royale de Monaco, a towering structure of glass and steel. Richard wore a disguise, glasses, a fake beard, a different suit. Fobi and Maverick stayed close, their eyes scanning every face, every car, every movement. Inside, the bank was cold and sterile. A security guard directed them to the vault room, where a clerk verified Richard's identity. Fingerprint scan. Retinal scan. Voice recognition. All clear. The clerk led them to a private viewing room and returned moments later with a metal box. He set it on the table and left them alone. Richard opened the box with trembling hands. Inside were documents. Hundreds of pages. Bank records. Wire transfers. Photos of meetings between Dante and corrupt politicians. Recordings of conversations that could send dozens of people to prison. It was enough to destroy the Devereaux syndicate. "This is it," Richard whispered. "This is what he's been after." Fobi reached for the documents, her eyes scanning the pages. "We need to make copies. Send them to the authorities. The FBI. Interpol. Everyone." "No," Maverick said. They both looked at him. "If we go to the authorities, it'll take months. Years. Legal battles. Appeals. And in the meantime, Dante will hunt us down one by one. We need leverage. Something we can use now." "Like what?" Fobi asked. Maverick's eyes darkened. "We give Dante exactly what he wants. But on our terms." "You want to negotiate with him?" Richard said incredulously. "The man is a killer. And killers understand one thing: power. If we have the evidence, we have the power. We tell him we'll destroy it if he leaves us alone." "He'll never agree to that," Fobi said. "Then we make him." Before anyone could respond, the door to the viewing room burst open. Dante Devereaux stood in the doorway, flanked by 6 armed men. "Did you really think you could come to my city without me knowing?" Dante said, his voice calm, almost amused. Maverick's hand went to his gun, but Dante's men were faster. Rifles raised, red laser sights dancing on their chests. "I wouldn't," Dante warned. Richard stood, his face pale. "Dante. Please. Let them go. This is between you and me." "You're right about that," Dante said. He nodded to his men, and they grabbed Richard, dragging him toward the door. "No!" Fobi screamed, lunging forward. But Dante's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. He pulled her close, his lips brushing her ear. "You had your chance to come back to me, Fobi. Now you'll watch everyone you love die." Maverick moved, but a rifle butt slammed into his ribs, dropping him to his knees. 48 hours, Dante said, turning to leave. "That's what I gave you. And you wasted them." "Wait!" Fobi shouted. "I'll give you the evidence. Just let them go." Dante paused. He turned back, his eyes gleaming. "All of it?" "All of it." He smiled. "Good girl. You have 1 hour to deliver it to the Devereaux estate. If you're late, your father dies. And then..." His eyes flicked to Maverick. Him. Dante and his men disappeared, taking Richard with them. Fobi collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face. Maverick pulled himself up, his ribs screaming in pain, and knelt beside her. "We'll get him back," he said. "How?" she sobbed. "He has everything. My father. The evidence. We have nothing." Maverick took her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. "We have each other. And we have a plan." "What plan?" Maverick's eyes hardened. "We give Dante exactly what he wants. And then we burn his world to the ground." Fobi stared at him, hope flickering in her eyes. "You think we can do this?" "We don't have a choice." But as they left the bank, neither of them saw the black sedan following them. And inside, a man with cold eyes whispered into a phone ****. "They're on the move. Prepare the trap." The Devereaux estate sat on the cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean, a fortress of stone and glass that gleamed like a dagger in the moonlight. Maverick and Fobi approached the gates in a black sedan, the evidence locked in a briefcase in the back seat. Maverick's plan was simple. Give Dante the evidence. Get Richard back. And then, when Dante's guard was down, strike. But plans only worked if your enemy played by the rules. And Dante Devereaux had never played by the rules in his life. The gates opened, and they drove up the winding driveway. Armed guards lined the path, their eyes tracking the car like wolves watching prey. "This is a trap," Fobi whispered. "I know," Maverick replied. "But it's the only way." They parked in front of the main entrance. Dante's men surrounded the car immediately, yanking open the doors and pulling them out. They searched them roughly, taking Maverick's gun, Fobi's knife, and the briefcase. Inside, one of the guards barked. They were led through marble hallways lined with priceless art and into a grand ballroom. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting golden light over the polished floor. And at the center of the room, seated in a high-backed chair like a king on a throne, was Dante Devereaux. Richard Bernard knelt beside him, hands bound, a gun pressed to his head. "Dad!" Fobi shouted, lunging forward. The guards grabbed her, holding her back. Dante stood, his movements slow, deliberate. He crossed to the briefcase, opened it, and examined the documents inside. A slow smile spread across his face. "You actually brought it," he said, almost surprised. "I didn't think you had it in you, Fobi." "Let him go," she said through gritted teeth. "That's the deal." "The deal?" Dante laughed. "Oh, my dear. There was never a deal." Maverick's blood ran cold. Dante snapped his fingers, and the guard pressed the gun harder against Richard's head. "No!" Fobi screamed. "Wait!" Maverick shouted. "You got what you wanted. Let him go." Dante turned to him, his expression cold. "You still don't understand, do you, Knight? This was never about the evidence. It was about teaching Fobi a lesson. About showing her what happens when you betray me." "I never betrayed you," Fobi cried. "I loved you." "And I loved you too," Dante said softly. "But love isn't enough. Love is weakness. And I don't do weakness." He nodded to the guard. The gunshot rang out. Richard's body crumpled to the floor. "No!" Fobi's scream tore through the ballroom. She collapsed, sobbing, her entire body shaking. Maverick's vision went red. Rage, pure and blinding, consumed him. He lunged at Dante, but the guards slammed him to the ground, pinning him. Dante crouched beside Fobi, wiping a tear from her cheek with mock tenderness. "Now you understand. Everyone you love will die. And it's all because of you." "You're a monster," Fobi whispered. "Maybe," Dante said, standing. "But I'm your monster." He turned to his men. "Take them to the basement. I want them alive for now. I'm not done with them yet." The guards dragged Maverick and Fobi down a flight of stone stairs into a cold, damp basement. They were thrown into a cell, the door slamming shut with a heavy clang. Fobi curled into a ball, her sobs echoing off the stone walls. Maverick pulled her into his arms, holding her as she shattered. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. This is all my fault." "It's not," Maverick said firmly. "This is Dante's fault. And I swear to you, Fobi, I will make him pay." "How?" she asked, her voice hollow. "We're locked in a cell. My father's dead. The evidence is gone. We have nothing." Maverick pulled back, looking into her eyes. "We have each other. And we have something Dante doesn't." "What?" "Hope." For a moment, she just stared at him. Then, slowly, she nodded. Hours passed. The cell was silent except for the distant drip of water. Maverick paced, his mind racing, searching for a way out. And then he heard it. Footsteps. Coming down the stairs. The door opened, and a figure stepped into the dim light. It was a woman. tall, dark-skinned, with sharp eyes and a gun in her hand. "Who the hell are you?" Maverick demanded. The woman smiled. "My name is Zara, and I'm here to get you out." "Why would you help us?" Fobi asked, her voice suspicious, ***. "Because," Zara said, "Dante Devereaux killed my brother. And I've been waiting years for a chance to destroy him. And now that chance is here." Zara moved with the precision of a trained killer. She unlocked the cell door, her eyes scanning the hallway for guards. "We don't have much time. Dante's men will check on you in 10 minutes. Maverick stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "How do we know this isn't another trap?" Zara's gaze hardened. "You don't. But right now, I'm the only chance you have. So you can either trust me and live, or stay here and die." Fobi stood, her grief momentarily replaced by determination. If she wanted us dead, she wouldn't have opened the door. "Let's go." They followed Zara up the stairs, her movements swift and silent. She led them through a maze of corridors, avoiding guards with practiced ease. Finally, they reached a service exit hidden behind a wine cellar. "This leads to the cliffs," Zara whispered. "There's a boat waiting at the dock. Go. Now." "What about you?" Maverick asked. "I have unfinished business with Dante." "You'll die if you go back," Fobi said. Zara smiled grimly. "Then I'll die fighting. Just get to the boat. And don't look back." Before either of them could respond, an alarm blared through the estate. Shouts echoed down the hallways. "They know you're gone," Zara said. "Run." Maverick grabbed Fobi's hand, and they bolted through the exit, the cold night air hitting them like a slap. Behind them, they heard gunfire. "Zara!" Fobi shouted, stopping. "Keep moving." Maverick pulled her forward. "If we go back, her sacrifice means nothing." They ran down the cliffside path, their lungs burning, their legs screaming. The dock came into view, a small speedboat bobbing in the water. Maverick untied the ropes and started the engine. Fobi jumped in, and they roared away from the estate just as Dante's men reached the cliffs. Bullets tore through the air, splashing into the water around them. But they were fast. Too fast. Within minutes, the Devereaux estate was a distant silhouette against the night sky. Fobi collapsed into the seat, her chest heaving. "My father's dead," she whispered. "He's really gone." Maverick sat beside her, his jaw tight. "I know. And I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't bring him back." "No. But revenge will." She looked at him, her eyes red but fierce. "How?" "We lost the evidence. Dante has everything." "Not everything," Maverick said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small flash drive. "I made a copy. While you were distracting Dante, I uploaded everything to the cloud. The documents, the recordings, all of it." Fobi's eyes widened. You did that?" "I told you. I don't lose." For the first time since her father's death, Fobi smiled. A small, broken smile, but a smile nonetheless. "What do we do now?" she asked. Maverick's expression darkened. "We expose him. We send everything to the FBI, Interpol, every major news outlet. We destroy Dante Devereaux piece by piece. And then? Then what? Then we disappear. Start over. Somewhere he can't find us." Fobi shook her head. "I'm not running anymore, Maverick. My father died because of him. I won't let that go unanswered. Revenge will get you killed. Then I'll die fighting. Just like Zara." Maverick stared at her, torn between admiration and fear. She was fierce, unbreakable. And he realized, in that moment, that he'd do anything to protect her. Even if it meant walking into hell itself. They docked at a safe harbor in southern France and disappeared into the shadows. Maverick used his connections to arrange new identities, safe houses, and secure communications. Within 24 hours, the evidence was sent to every major law enforcement agency in the world. The fallout was immediate. News outlets exploded with headlines, "Devereaux Syndicate Exposed." "Billionaire Crime Lord's Empire Crumbles." International arrest warrants issued. Dante's carefully constructed empire began to collapse. Allies turned on him. Politicians distanced themselves. His assets were frozen, his operations raided. But Dante Devereaux was not a man who went down quietly. 3 days after the evidence went public, Maverick received a call. "You think you've won," Dante's voice crackled through the line. "But you've only made things worse. For you. For her. For everyone you've ever cared about. Your empire is finished, Dante," Maverick said calmly. "Turn yourself in." Dante laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "I'll never see the inside of a cell. But you? You'll see the inside of a grave. I'm coming for you, Knight. And this time, there's nowhere left to run." The line went dead. Maverick turned to Fobi, who had been listening on speaker. Her face was pale but resolute. "He's not going to stop," she said. "No. He's not. Then we end this. Once and for all." Maverick nodded. "Agreed. But we do it my way. We set a trap. We make him come to us. And when he does..." Maverick's eyes burned with cold determination. "We bury him." Maverick's plan was as dangerous as it was simple. They would lure Dante into the open, somewhere isolated, somewhere he couldn't bring an army. And then they would end him. The location, an abandoned shipyard on the outskirts of Marseille. A labyrinth of rusted containers and empty warehouses, perfect for an ambush. Maverick sent Dante a message, "You want us? Come and get us." And then they waited. Night fell, and the shipyard became a graveyard of shadows. Maverick and Fobi took positions behind the containers, weapons in hand, their breath misting in the cold air. "Are you sure he'll come?" Fobi whispered. "He'll come," Maverick replied. "His ego won't let him stay away." They didn't have to wait long. The roar of engines echoed through the shipyard. Black SUVs rolled through the gates, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Dante stepped out, flanked by a dozen armed men. "Knight." Dante's voice boomed. "I know you're here. Come out and face me like a man." Maverick stepped into the open, his gun at his side. "I'm here, Dante. Just like you wanted." Dante smiled. "You're braver than I thought. Or stupider. Maybe both. Where's Fobi?" "Far away from you." Dante's smile faded. "Liar. She wouldn't leave you. Not now. Not after everything." He raised his voice. "Fobi. I know you're here. Come out. Let's end this." Fobi stepped out from the shadows, her gun raised. "You want to end this, Dante? Fine. Let's end it." For a moment, the shipyard was silent. The only sound was the distant crash of waves. Then Dante laughed. "You think you can kill me? You couldn't even pull the trigger when we were together. What makes you think you can do it now?" "Because," Fobi said, her voice steady, "you killed my father. And I've got nothing left to lose." Dante's expression darkened. "Then do it. Pull the trigger. Let's see if you've got the guts." Fobi's finger tightened on the trigger. But before she could fire, gunfire erupted from all sides. Maverick's trap had worked. Hidden snipers, hired by Maverick, opened fire on Dante's men. Bodies dropped. Chaos exploded. Dante dove for cover, shouting orders. His men returned fire, but they were outnumbered, outgunned. Maverick grabbed Fobi, pulling her behind a container. "Stay down." "Where are you going?" "To finish this." He ran toward Dante's position, weaving through the gunfire. Dante saw him coming and fired, but Maverick was faster. He tackled Dante to the ground, and they grappled, fists flying. Dante was strong, vicious. But Maverick fought with everything he had: rage, love, desperation. They rolled across the ground, each trying to gain the upper hand. Dante grabbed a piece of rebar and swung. Maverick dodged, the metal whistling past his ear. "You should have stayed out of this," Dante snarled. "And you should have left her alone," Maverick roared. He landed a brutal punch to Dante's jaw, sending him sprawling. Maverick grabbed his gun, aiming it at Dante's head. "It's over," Maverick said, breathing hard. Dante laughed, blood dripping from his mouth. "You think killing me changes anything? There's always someone waiting to take my place." "Maybe. But it won't be you." "Maverick, wait." Fobi ran up, her own gun raised. "Let me do it." Maverick looked at her, then at Dante. "He's right," Fobi said. "This is my fight. My father. My life. Let me end it." Maverick hesitated. Then, slowly, he stepped aside. Fobi stood over Dante, her gun aimed at his heart. Tears streamed down her face. "I loved you once," she whispered. "But you destroyed that. You destroyed everything." Dante's smile faded. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. "Fobi, please." She pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the shipyard. Dante's body went limp. Fobi lowered the gun, her hands shaking. Maverick caught her as she collapsed, holding her as she sobbed. "It's over," he whispered. "It's finally over." "Wow, that was intense. If you're still with me, I need you to do something right now. Hit that subscribe button, because stories like this don't come easy. And comment below, do you think Fobi did the right thing? Or should she have let Dante live? Let me know. Now, let's see what happens next, ***. The aftermath was brutal. The media exploded with coverage of Dante Devereaux's death and the collapse of his criminal empire. Arrests were made worldwide. Politicians resigned. Corrupt officials were exposed. Maverick and Fobi disappeared from the public eye, retreating to a private villa in the Swiss Alps. Far from the chaos. Far from the memories. But healing wasn't easy. Fobi spent days in silence, staring out at the snow-covered mountains. She barely ate. Barely slept. The weight of her father's death and Dante's blood on her hands crushed her. Maverick stayed close, never pushing, just present. He'd wake in the night to find her standing by the window, tears streaming down her face. He'd wrap her in his arms, and they'd stand there until dawn broke. "I killed him," she whispered one morning. "I looked him in the eyes and I killed him." "You survived," Maverick corrected gently. "There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes. Because you're still here. And you're going to keep living. For your father. For yourself." She turned to him, her eyes hollow. "What if I can't?" "Then I'll carry you until you can." And he did. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, painfully, Fobi began to heal. She started eating again. Started sleeping. Started talking about her father, not just his death, but his life. The memories they'd shared. The lessons he'd taught her. And through it all, Maverick was there. But there was something else growing between them. Something that had been building since that first night at the party. Something neither of them could ignore anymore. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Fobi finally broke the silence. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Do what?" "Risk everything for me. You could have walked away. Should have walked away. But you didn't." "Why?" Maverick stared into the fire, his jaw tight. When he spoke, his voice was raw. "Because the moment I met you, something inside me broke. Or maybe it finally fixed. I don't know. But I couldn't look away. And the more I got to know you, the more I realized everything I thought I knew about the world was wrong." He turned to her, his eyes intense. You challenged me. Made me question every prejudice I'd ever held. Made me see myself for what I really was, a man hiding behind walls built on lies. And now, she whispered. Now I see you. Really see you. And I can't imagine my life without you in it. Fobi's breath caught. For a moment, she just stared at him. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched his face. I see you too, Maverick. And I think I'm falling in love with you. You think, he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Okay, I know. I know I'm in love with you. Maverick pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that was both tender and desperate. Years of loneliness, of walls and armor, melted away. There was only her. Only this. When they finally pulled apart, Fobi smiled, a real, genuine smile. What happens now? She asked. Now, Maverick said, we start over. Together. But as they kissed again, neither of them knew that across the world, in a darkened office, a man was watching surveillance footage of the shipyard. A man who looked exactly like Dante Devereaux, ***. Brother, he whispered to the screen. Your death will not go unavenged. 3 months passed. Maverick and Fobi returned to the world, but as different people. They split their time between New York and Paris, building a new life together. Maverick scaled back his empire, focusing on legitimate ventures. Fobi took over Bernard Global, transforming it into a force for good. They were happy. Or as happy as two people haunted by their pasts could be. But the past wasn't done with them. It started with small things. A feeling of being watched. A car that followed them for too long. Anonymous messages that came and went before they could be traced. Maverick hired extra security, but nothing happened. The threats remained shadows, present but intangible. Until the night of the charity gala. It was held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, a glittering event filled with Manhattan's elite. Maverick and Fobi attended together, her hand resting on his arm as they moved through the crowd. Whispers followed them wherever they went. Is that Maverick Knight? With her? I heard he's completely changed since they got together. Changed or lost his mind? Fobi felt the stares like needles, but she kept her head high. Maverick squeezed her hand, his silent promise, *I'm here. Always *. They were standing near the sculpture garden when a voice cut through the crowd. Maverick Knight. The man who destroyed my brother. Maverick's blood ran cold. He turned slowly. The man standing before them looked exactly like Dante. Same height. Same build. Same cold, predatory eyes. But this wasn't Dante. This was someone worse. Lucien Devereaux, the man said, extending his hand with a mocking smile. Dante's twin brother. Pleasure to finally meet you. Maverick didn't take his hand. What do you want? Want? Lucien laughed. I want what you took from me. My brother. My family's empire. Everything. Your brother was a killer, Fobi said, stepping forward. He deserved what he got. Lucien's eyes flicked to her, and something dark flickered in them. Ah, Fobi. The woman who pulled the trigger. Tell me, do you sleep well at night? Or do you see his face every time you close your eyes? Fobi's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. Lucien smiled. I thought so. He turned back to Maverick. You think killing Dante ended anything? You think you're safe now? You have no idea what's coming. Is that a threat? Maverick asked, his voice deadly calm. It's a promise. Security guards approached, sensing the tension. Lucien raised his hands innocently. No need for drama. I was just leaving. But I'll see you both again. Very soon. He walked away, his laughter echoing through the gallery. Maverick turned to Fobi, whose face had gone pale. We need to leave. Now. Back at Maverick's penthouse, they sat in tense silence. Finally, Fobi spoke. He's going to come after us. I know. We killed his brother. His twin. He won't stop until we're dead. Maverick pulled out his phone, dialing a number. Then we don't wait for him to strike. We hit first. Who are you calling? Someone who knows the Devereaux family better than anyone. The line connected. A woman's voice answered. Maverick. I was wondering when you'd call. Zara, Maverick said. We need your help. Zara arrived the next day. She looked different, her hair shorter, a scar running down her left arm, but her eyes were the same. Sharp. Dangerous. Alive. Lucien Devereaux, she said, settling into a chair. Dante's twin. The smarter, more ruthless brother. You know him? Fobi asked. I know of him. After Dante took over the syndicate, Lucien went underground. Built his own network. Quieter than Dante's, but just as deadly. Maybe more. What does he want? Maverick asked. Revenge. But not just killing you. That's too simple. Lucien likes to destroy people slowly. He'll go after your business, your reputation, everyone you love. He'll take everything from you before he pulls the trigger. How do we stop him? Zara leaned forward. We don't. We survive him. That's not good enough, Maverick said. It's all we've got. Lucien operates in the shadows. No permanent base. No fixed allies. He's a ghost. The best we can do is stay alert and hit back when he shows himself. So we wait? Fobi said, frustrated. Wait for him to make a move? Unless you have a better idea. They didn't. But Maverick refused to sit idle. He doubled security, hired private investigators, and reached out to his network of contacts. If Lucien was coming, he'd be ready. But Lucien was patient. And patience was the most dangerous weapon of all. 2 weeks later, Maverick received a package. Inside was a single photograph, ***. Fobi, walking alone in Central Park. A red crosshair drawn over her heart, ***. And a note, tick-tock. Maverick's hand shook as he stared at the photograph. The crosshair. The threat. The message was clear, I can get to her whenever I want. He called Fobi immediately. Where are you? At the office. Why? What's wrong? Stay there. Don't leave. I'm coming to get you. Maverick, you're scaring me. Just stay there. He hung up and grabbed his keys, his mind racing. Lucien wasn't playing games anymore. This was real. Imminent. When he arrived at Bernard Global, Maverick found Fobi in her office, surrounded by security guards he'd insisted she keep close. What happened? She asked when she saw his face. He showed her the photograph. Her face drained of color. He was following me? I didn't even notice. That's the point. Lucien wants us to know he can strike any time. He's toying with us. So what do we do? Maverick's jaw tightened. You can't go anywhere alone. Not until we deal with him. I can't live like a prisoner, Maverick. I'd rather you live like a prisoner than die free. She started to argue, but stopped. The fear in his eyes silenced her. This wasn't about control. This was about terror, the terror of losing her. Okay, she said quietly. What do you need me to do? Stay close. Trust no one except me and Zara. And if you see anything suspicious, anything at all, you call me immediately. She nodded. But as the days passed, the paranoia grew. Every stranger was a threat. Every shadow hid danger. Maverick barely slept, his mind consumed with worst-case scenarios. Fobi tried to be strong, but the constant surveillance, the armed guards, the fear, it was suffocating. One night, she finally broke. I can't do this anymore, she said, tears streaming down her face. I can't live like this. Always looking over my shoulder. Always afraid. Maverick held her, his own frustration boiling over. I don't know what else to do. I can't protect you if I can't see the threat. Maybe. She hesitated. Maybe I should leave. Go somewhere Lucian can't find me. No. Maverick. No. His voice was sharp, desperate. I won't lose you. Not to him. Not to fear. Not to anything. But if I stay, he'll keep coming after us. After you. Then let him come. I'll deal with him. How? He's invisible. Untouchable. Then I'll become the monster he fears. Fobi stared at him, seeing something dark flicker in his eyes. Something dangerous. Don't, she whispered. Don't become like them. I'll become whatever I need to be to keep you safe. She cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. I don't need a monster, Maverick. I need you. He closed his eyes, the tension draining from his body. I'm terrified of losing you. I know. But we face this together. Not apart. Together. He pulled her close, and they stood there in the silence, two souls clinging to each other in a storm. The break came 2 days later. Zara burst into the penthouse, her face flushed with urgency. I found him. Where? Maverick demanded. Brooklyn. An old warehouse he's using as a base. He's meeting with his lieutenants tonight. How do you know? I have my sources. But we need to move fast. This could be our only chance. Maverick looked at Fobi. She nodded. Then we go, he said. Tonight. The warehouse was a hulking skeleton of steel and concrete, surrounded by chain-link fences and darkness. Maverick, Fobi, and Zara approached silently, weapons drawn. Inside, voices echoed. Lucian's voice, cold and commanding. The Night Empire is vulnerable. His focus is divided. Strike at his holdings. His investments. Bleed him dry. And the woman, another voice asked. Leave her to me. Maverick's blood boiled. He kicked open the door, his gun raised. Change of plans, Lucian. The room exploded into chaos. Lucian's men drew weapons, but Zara and Fobi were faster. Gunfire erupted, echoing off the walls. Maverick moved through the chaos, his eyes locked on Lucian. They collided in the center of the warehouse, fists flying. You should have stayed dead like your brother. Maverick roared. And you should have stayed in your boardroom. Lucian snarled back. They fought with brutal intensity. Lucian was skilled, trained, but Maverick fought with something more powerful, love. He landed a crushing blow to Lucian's ribs, sending him sprawling. Maverick pinned him down, his gun pressed to Lucian's forehead. It's over. Lucian laughed, blood dripping from his mouth. You think killing me ends this? My family is everywhere. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Maybe. But you won't be there to see it. Maverick, wait. Fobi ran up, her hand on his arm. Don't. This isn't who you are. He threatened you. He tried to kill us. I know. But killing him makes you just like Dante. Just like all of them. Maverick's hand trembled. Every instinct screamed to pull the trigger. To end this. But then he looked into Fobi's eyes and saw the truth, she was right. He lowered the gun. You're lucky, he said to Lucian. She saved your life. He stood, stepping back. Zara moved forward, securing Lucian with zip ties. The police are on their way, she said. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. As sirens wailed in the distance, Maverick pulled Fobi into his arms. Thank you, he whispered. For reminding me who I am. Always, she replied. But as they left the warehouse, Lucian's laughter followed them. And his words echoed in the darkness. ***. This isn't over, Knight. Not by a long shot. With Lucian behind bars, life began to normalize. But normal for Maverick and Fobi meant navigating a world that wasn't ready for them. The media had caught wind of their relationship, and the headlines were brutal. Billionaire's controversial romance. Maverick Knight's radical change, love or publicity stunt. Power couple or PR nightmare. But it wasn't just the press. It was the people in their circles. At a board meeting for Knight Industries, one of Maverick's longtime investors pulled him aside. "Maverick, I need to speak frankly. Your relationship is causing concerns among the shareholders." Maverick's eyes narrowed. "Concerns? About your judgment. Your focus. The optics. The optics? You understand what I'm saying. This woman. Her name is Fobi," Maverick interrupted, his voice deadly calm. "And if you have concerns about my judgment, you're welcome to sell your shares." The investor paled. "I didn't mean." Meeting adjourned. Maverick walked out, his blood boiling. But this was only the beginning. At a charity dinner, a socialite, blonde, perfectly manicured, dripping in diamonds, approached Fobi with a false smile. "Fobi, darling. How brave of you to attend these events. You must feel so out of place." Fobi smiled coolly. "Actually, I feel perfectly comfortable. But thank you for your concern." "Oh, I'm just saying, it must be difficult. Being with someone like Maverick when you're so different." "Different how?" The socialite's smile tightened. "You know what I mean." Before Fobi could respond, Maverick appeared at her side, his hand sliding protectively around her waist. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his tone ice cold. The socialite flushed. "Of course not. I was just making conversation." "Then let me make something clear," Maverick said, his voice carrying across the room. "Fobi is my partner. If anyone has a problem with that, they can take it up with me directly. Otherwise, keep your opinions to yourself." The socialite stammered an apology and hurried away. Later, in the car, Fobi was quiet. "You didn't have to do that," she said finally. "Yes, I did. I can handle myself, Maverick." "I know you can. But you shouldn't have to. Not when I'm here." She looked at him, her eyes glistening. "Do you ever regret it? Being with me? Dealing with all this?" Maverick stopped the car, turning to face her fully. "Not for a single second. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. And if the world can't see that, then the world can go to hell." Fobi smiled through her tears. "You really mean that?" "Every word." He kissed her, slow and deep. "A promise." But the challenges didn't stop. They faced them at every turn, in boardrooms, at galas, and whispered conversations behind closed doors. One evening, Maverick's mother called. "Maverick, we need to talk about this woman you're seeing. Her name is Fobi, Mother. I know her name. What I don't understand is why you're throwing away everything we've built for this." Maverick's jaw tightened. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm finally building something real." "Real?" "She's a distraction. A scandal waiting to happen. She's the woman I love." There was silence on the other end. Then, coldly, "Then you're a fool." "Maybe. But I'd rather be a fool in love than a success alone." He hung up. Fobi had heard the entire conversation. She wrapped her arms around him from behind. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be. She's wrong. And even if she wasn't, I wouldn't care. Your family is toxic. I've spent my whole life trying to earn their approval. I'm done." He turned, cupping her face. "You're my family now. You and whatever future we build together." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I love you, Maverick Knight." I love you too, Fobi Bernard. More than anything in this world. But that night, as they slept, neither of them heard the camera shutter clicking from the building across the street. Or saw the photos being uploaded to a tabloid website, ***. Photos that would hit the front page by morning with the headline, Billionaire's Secret Life Exposed. The photos were everywhere. Maverick and Fobi in intimate moments, kissing on the balcony, holding each other in the living room, unguarded and vulnerable. The headlines were merciless. Maverick Knight's private affair revealed. Billionaire's romance under fire. Is this love or obsession? The tabloids painted Fobi as a gold digger, a manipulator who had ensnared one of the world's most eligible bachelors. They dug into her past, twisting facts, inventing stories. Maverick's phone rang off the hook. Investors demanding explanations. Board members calling emergency meetings. PR teams scrambling to control the damage. But Maverick didn't care about any of it. He cared about the broken look in Fobi's eyes as she read the articles. They're saying I'm using you, she whispered. That I'm only with you for your money. They're wrong. Are they? Look at the comments, Maverick. Thousands of people agreeing. Saying I don't belong in your world. Then maybe I don't belong in this world either. She looked up at him, shocked. What? Maverick sat beside her, taking her hands. I've been thinking. About everything. My empire, my wealth, this life I've built. And I realized something. None of it matters without you. Maverick. I'm serious. If I have to choose between this world and you, I choose you. Every time. But your company. Your legacy. Can be rebuilt. Can be redefined. But you? He touched her face gently. You're irreplaceable. Fobi's tears fell freely now. You'd really give it all up? In a heartbeat. She kissed him, deep and desperate. And in that moment, everything else faded away. But Maverick wasn't going to let the world tear them apart without a fight. He called a press conference. The grand ballroom of the Lexington Hotel was packed. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Maverick stepped to the podium, Fobi at his side. The room fell silent. I'm here to address the recent media coverage of my personal life, Maverick began, his voice steady. And to set the record straight. He looked at Fobi, then back at the crowd. Fobi Bernard is not a scandal. She's not a controversy. She's the woman I love. And she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I know many of you expected me to live a certain way. To marry a certain type of person. To conform to your expectations. But I refuse. His voice grew stronger. I spent years living behind walls built on prejudice and fear. Walls inherited from a world that told me who I could love and who I couldn't. But Fobi broke those walls down. She showed me what real strength looks like. What real love looks like. He turned to her, his eyes softening. She challenges me. Inspires me. Makes me want to be better. And I will not apologize for loving her. The room erupted. Some applauded. Others shouted questions. Cameras flashed like lightning. But Maverick wasn't finished. To those who think she doesn't belong in my world, you're right. Because my world was broken. And she's the one helping me rebuild it into something worth having. He reached for Fobi's hand, raising it. This woman is my partner. My equal. And I'm proud to stand beside her. The applause grew louder, drowning out the dissenters. Fobi looked at him, tears streaming down her face, and mouthed, I love you. He mouthed back, always. Later, as they left the hotel, reporters swarmed. But Maverick and Fobi walked through the crowd together, hand in hand, heads held high. The next day, the headlines changed ***. Maverick Knight's powerful love declaration. Billionaire defends romance in moving speech. Love conquers all, the Knight Bernard story. But not everyone was happy. In a darkened office, an enemy watched the press conference on repeat, ***. So he thinks he's won, the voice whispered. We'll see about that. 3 weeks after the press conference, Maverick received devastating news. Sir, we have a problem, Peter said, bursting into his office. What kind of problem? The kind that could destroy Knight Industries. Maverick's blood ran cold. Explain. Peter pulled up files on the screen. Someone's been systematically buying up shares in Knight Industries. Small amounts from different shell companies, but all traceable to one source. Who? Marcus Blackwell. Maverick's jaw clenched. Marcus Blackwell. His former mentor. The man who'd taught him everything about ruthless business. The man who'd cut him off when Maverick refused to follow his most unethical practices. How much does he have? 32%. If he acquires 18% more, he can force a vote of no confidence. He could take over the entire company. Maverick leaned back, his mind racing. He's making a hostile takeover. It looks that way. And sir, there's more. What? He's been meeting with several of your board members. Privately. It appears he's building support for his takeover bid. Who? Peter rattled off names. Half the board. People Maverick had trusted for years. Why now? Maverick muttered. Why come after me now? Peter hesitated. There are rumors, sir, that Blackwell doesn't approve of your personal choices. That he sees your relationship with Miss Bernard as a weakness. A distraction. Maverick's fists clenched. So this is about Fobi. It appears so. Rage boiled in Maverick's chest. But beneath it was something else, fear. Fear that his love for Fobi would cost him everything he'd built. He pushed the thought away. Set up a meeting with Blackwell. Today. They met in a private club overlooking Central Park. Marcus Blackwell sat in a leather chair, a glass of bourbon in hand, looking every bit the predator he was. Maverick, he said smoothly. I was wondering when you'd come. Maverick didn't sit. What do you want? Want? I want what's best for Knight Industries. And right now, that's not you. Because of Fobi. Marcus smiled. Because you've lost your edge. You used to be ruthless. Focused. Now you're soft. Distracted by a woman who has no business in our world. Careful, Marcus. Or what? You'll threaten me? Please. I taught you everything you know. I made you. And I surpassed you. Which is why you can't stand it. Marcus's smile faded. I gave you a simple choice years ago, follow my lead or go your own way. You chose wrong. And now I'm here to correct that mistake. By stealing my company? By saving it. From you. Maverick leaned forward, his voice deadly calm. You'll never win this. I've built relationships, loyalty, trust. Things you've never understood. Trust? Marcus laughed. Half your board is already with me. The other half is wavering. You're isolated, Maverick. And it's all because of her. Then I'll fight you with everything I have. You'll lose. And when you do, she'll leave you. Women like her always do when the money runs out. Maverick grabbed Marcus by the collar, pulling him close. Say one more word about her, and I'll end you. Marcus didn't flinch. Prove me wrong. Choose your company or choose her. Because you can't have both. Maverick released him, his jaw tight. He walked out without another word. Okay, this story is getting intense. If you're still with me, hit that subscribe button right now. We're at the point where everything could fall apart. Drop a comment. Should Maverick fight for his company or walk away for love? I need to know what you think. Now, let's see what he decides. ***. Maverick returned to the penthouse, his mind a storm. Marcus's words echoed, "Choose your company or choose her." Fobi was on the terrace, looking out at the city. She turned when she heard him enter. "How did it go?" He didn't answer immediately. Just looked at her, this woman who'd changed everything. "Marcus is trying to take over Knight Industries," he said finally. "And he's using our relationship as ammunition. Saying I've lost my focus. That I'm weak." Fobi's face fell. "Oh, Maverick. He wants me to choose. The company or you." She stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him to go to hell. But..." He ran a hand through his hair. "Half my board is supporting him. If I don't do something, I'll lose everything I've built. Then fight him. Do what you need to do. And if fighting him means spending less time with you? Missing dates, canceling trips, becoming obsessed with saving the company? Then I'll wait. I'll understand." Maverick shook his head. "You shouldn't have to. None of this is your fault." "No, it's not. But it's our reality." She took his hands. "I knew what I was getting into when I fell in love with you. The scrutiny. The judgment. The battles. And I'm not going anywhere. But what if I lose? What if Marcus wins and I'm left with nothing?" She smiled softly. "Then you'll have me. And that's everything." Maverick pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway." He laughed despite everything. And in that moment, clarity hit him. He didn't have to choose. He could have both. He just had to be smarter than Marcus. Over the next 2 weeks, Maverick worked like a man possessed. He met with board members, rebuilding relationships. He courted new investors, ones who believed in his vision. He restructured deals, streamlined operations, and proved that his focus was sharper than ever. And through it all, Fobi was there. Not as a distraction, but as his partner. She attended board meetings, offering insights from her experience at Bernard Global. She met with investors, her intelligence and poise winning them over. She proved that she wasn't a liability, she was an asset. Together, they were unstoppable. The day of the board vote arrived. The conference room was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Marcus sat at one end of the table, confident, smug. Maverick sat at the other, Fobi beside him. "Let's begin," the chairman said. "Mr. Blackwell has made a motion for a vote of no confidence in Maverick Knight's leadership. All in favor?" 6 hands rose. Exactly half the board. All opposed? 6 hands rose. A tie. The chairman cleared his throat. In the event of a tie, the deciding vote falls to Miss Fobi Bernard, who was recently appointed to the board as a special advisor. Marcus's face went pale. Fobi stood, her voice clear and strong. "I vote to retain Maverick Knight as CEO of Knight Industries." The room erupted. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "This is absurd. She's biased." "And you're not?" Fobi countered. "You're trying to steal a company because you can't stand that Maverick outgrew you. You have no idea what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've spent the last 2 weeks reviewing every deal, every decision, every strategy Maverick has implemented. And you know what I found? Growth. Innovation. Success. Things you could never achieve because you're too busy holding grudges." She turned to the board. "Maverick Knight is the best thing that ever happened to this company. And if you can't see that, then you're as blind as Marcus." Silence. Then, slowly, one of the board members who'd raised his hand for Marcus lowered it. "Miss Bernard is right. I vote to retain Maverick." Another followed. Then another. By the end, only 3 board members sided with Marcus. He'd lost. Marcus stood, his face twisted with rage. "This isn't over, Knight. Yes, it is, Maverick said calmly. Security, please escort Mr. Blackwell out. As Marcus was led away, the board erupted in applause. Maverick turned to Fobi, his eyes shining. You saved me. No, she said, smiling. We saved each other. But as they celebrated, neither of them noticed the security camera glitching. Or the encrypted message being sent ***. Knight survives. Move to Plan B. 6 months passed. Knight Industries thrived under Maverick and Fobi's joint leadership. The media stopped questioning their relationship and started celebrating it. They became a power couple, admired, respected, unstoppable. But more importantly, they were happy. They traveled together, Paris, Tokyo, Cape Town. They explored the world not as a billionaire and his partner, but as two people in love. One evening, Maverick took Fobi to the place where they'd first met, the rooftop of the Avalon Grand Hotel. It looked the same, fairy lights, chandeliers, the city skyline stretching beyond. Why are we here? Fobi asked, smiling. Because this is where everything changed, Maverick said. This is where I met you. Where my life finally made sense. He led her to the balcony, the same spot where he'd first seen her across the room. Fobi Bernard, you walked into my life like a storm. You challenged me, changed me, saved me. You showed me what love really means. What strength really looks like. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a velvet box. Inside was a ring, a stunning diamond surrounded by sapphires. I spent my whole life building walls. But you tore them down with nothing but your presence. And now I can't imagine building anything without you by my side. Tears streamed down Fobi's face. Will you marry me? For a moment, the world held its breath. Then Fobi whispered, yes. 1,000 times yes. Maverick slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like coming home. Around them, the city lights twinkled. Music swelled. And for the first time in his life, Maverick Knight felt complete. The engagement announcement made headlines worldwide. Congratulations poured in from every corner. But with the joy came a shadow. 2 weeks before the wedding, Fobi received a letter. No return address. Just a single sentence. Asterisk, you took everything from me. Now I'll take everything from you. Asterisk. Maverick's jaw clenched when he read it. Lucian. He's supposed to be in prison. Maybe he has people on the outside, Fobi suggested. Or maybe. Maverick pulled out his phone, dialing a contact. This is Maverick Knight. I need information on Lucian Devereaux's current location. He listened, his face growing darker. When? A pause. How? He hung up, his expression grim. He escaped. 3 days ago. Killed 2 guards in the process. Fobi's blood ran cold. He's coming for us. Yes. And this time, he won't stop until we're dead. So what do we do? Cancel the wedding? Go into hiding? Maverick took her hands. We live our lives. We refuse to let him win. But Maverick, I've spent too long letting fear control me. I'm not going back to that. We're getting married. And if Lucian wants to stop us, he'll have to go through an army. And that's exactly what Maverick built. He hired the best security team money could buy. Former special forces, CIA operatives, experts in protection. The wedding would go on. But it would be the most guarded event in history. The days leading up to the wedding were tense. Every shadow held a threat. Every stranger was suspect. But Fobi refused to let fear ruin their joy. She threw herself into wedding planning, determined to make this day perfect. The night before the wedding, she and Maverick stood on their penthouse terrace, looking out at the city. Are you scared? She asked. Terrified, he admitted. Not of Lucian. But of losing you. You won't lose me. How can you be so sure? She turned to him, her eyes fierce. Because I've survived everything life has thrown at me. A father murdered. A man I once loved becoming a monster. Assassination attempts. Media scrutiny. And through it all, I'm still standing. Because of you. She took his hand. We're stronger together, Maverick. Whatever comes, we face it as one. He pulled her close, kissing her under the stars. Tomorrow, you become my wife. Tomorrow, we become unstoppable. But in the darkness below, a figure watched them through a rifle scope. Lucien Devereaux smiled, ***. Enjoy your last night together, he whispered. It's the last one you'll ever have. The cathedral was breathtaking. White roses and orchids covered every surface. Candlelight cast a golden glow. The pews were filled with family, friends, business associates, and dignitaries from around the world. Security was everywhere. Discreet but present. Snipers on rooftops. Plainclothes agents in the crowd. Metal detectors at every entrance. Maverick stood at the altar in a tailored black tuxedo, his heart pounding. Zara stood as Fobi's maid of honor, her eyes scanning the crowd constantly. The music began. The doors opened. And there she was. Fobi walked down the aisle in a stunning white gown, her beauty stealing every breath in the room. She looked like a queen, powerful, radiant, unstoppable. Maverick's eyes burned with emotion. This woman. His woman. His everything. When she reached him, he took her hands, and the world disappeared. The officiant began. Dearly beloved. But Maverick barely heard the words. He was lost in Fobi's eyes. In the promise they held. Maverick Knight, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, he said, his voice strong. And Fobi Bernard, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Maverick pulled Fobi close, kissing her as the cathedral erupted in applause. They were married. Finally. Completely. Eternally. The reception was held in the grand ballroom. Champagne flowed. Music played. People danced and celebrated. Maverick and Fobi stood in the center of the dance floor, swaying to their first song as husband and wife. We did it, Fobi whispered. We did, Maverick agreed. No interruptions. No disasters. Not yet. She pulled back, frowning. Don't say that. I'm just being cautious. Well, stop. Today is perfect. Let it stay that way. He smiled, pulling her close again. You're right. I'm sorry. But as the song ended, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the entire ballroom went dark. Screams erupted. Glass shattered. Gunfire exploded from every direction. Get down. Zara shouted, tackling a guest to the floor. Maverick pulled Fobi behind a table, his gun drawn. Stay with me. What's happening? Lucien. He's here. Security teams swarmed, but the attackers were prepared. Smoke bombs filled the room. Chaos reigned. And through the smoke, a figure emerged. Lucien Devereaux, his face twisted with rage, a gun in each hand. Did you really think I'd miss your wedding? He snarled. Maverick stepped in front of Fobi, his gun raised. It's over, Lucien. You're surrounded. So are you. Lucien's men closed in from every side. You took my brother. My family. My legacy. And for what? For her? She's worth more than your entire bloodline. Lucien's finger tightened on the trigger. But before he could fire, a shot rang out. Lucien staggered, blood blooming on his shoulder. Zara stood behind him, her gun smoking. That's for my brother, she said coldly. Lucien's men hesitated. Security teams rushed forward, overwhelming them. Lucian fell to his knees, clutching his wound. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Maverick said. He looked at the security team. Get him out of here. As Lucian was dragged away, the ballroom slowly returned to order. Guests emerged from hiding, shaken but alive. Maverick turned to Fobi, checking her for injuries. Are you okay? She nodded, her hands trembling. I'm fine. I'm fine. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I'm so sorry. This should have been perfect. It is perfect, she whispered. Because we're alive. We're together. And we won. He pulled back, looking into her eyes. We did, didn't we? She smiled. Always. And in that moment, surrounded by chaos and broken glass, they kissed. A promise that nothing, not threats, not enemies, not the world itself, could break them. The wedding continued. The music played. The champagne flowed. And Maverick and Fobi danced under the stars, finally, truly, unstoppably in love, ***. 1 year later. Maverick and Fobi stood on the balcony of their villa in Santorini, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Do you ever miss the chaos? Fobi asked, leaning against him. Not even a little, Maverick replied, kissing her forehead. Life had changed dramatically. After Lucian's arrest, this time with no possibility of escape, they'd stepped back from the relentless pace of their empires. Maverick handed day-to-day operations of Knight Industries to a trusted team. Fobi did the same with Bernard Global. They didn't retire. They just lived. They traveled, explored, laughed, loved. And they were building something new. A foundation focused on education and opportunity for underprivileged communities. A way to give back. To make a difference. Do you ever regret it? Fobi asked. Everything you gave up? Maverick turned her to face him, his eyes soft. I didn't give up anything. I found everything. She smiled, tears glistening. I love you, Maverick Knight. I love you too, Fobi Knight. They stood there as the sun dipped below the horizon, two souls that had found each other against all odds. The billionaire who once dismissed black women had found his home in the arms of one. The woman who'd faced prejudice, danger, and hate had found her peace in the heart of a man who'd changed. Together, they'd proven that love could conquer anything. That walls built on prejudice could crumble. That redemption was possible. That two broken people could become whole. 3 years later. Daddy. Daddy. Maverick turned from his desk as a tiny figure burst into his study. His daughter, Maya, all of 3 years old with her mother's dark skin and his blue eyes, ran straight into his arms. What is it, princess? Mommy says dinner's ready. Then we better not keep her waiting. He scooped Maya up, carrying her through the penthouse. In the kitchen, Fobi stood at the stove, her hand resting on her very pregnant belly. Maverick set Maya down and wrapped his arms around his wife from behind. How are my girls? Your girls are hungry, Fobi said, smiling. Then let's eat. They sat together, a family. Maverick looked around the table at the life he'd built. The life he never knew he needed. And he realized something profound. He'd spent years building an empire, but this was his greatest achievement. Love. Family. Purpose. What are you thinking about? Fobi asked. How lucky I am, he replied simply. She reached across the table, taking his hand. We're lucky. Both of us. Maya giggled, smashing her food. The baby kicked in Fobi's belly. And Maverick Knight, the billionaire who'd once thought he had it all, finally understood what it meant to be truly rich. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the Korean Dawn family. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment telling me what you thought, and share this video with someone who needs to hear a powerful love story, ***. Remember, love conquers all. Walls built on prejudice can crumble. And redemption is always possible, ***. Happy New Year, everyone. See you in the next story.